option here to recess this until we get into the other bills, if it's gonna take any longer than this. Is there any objection from the committee? Yes.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the, parents and members of the public that have.
You want me to continue?
Yes.
They may have written testimony which could be accepted in lieu of.
But they may not
I'm
also.
not gonna spend more time debating the debate. I'm gonna allow
You know
us
what?
to continue. But
You
if
might
you
get
have
elected again.
testimony, please pass it in and speak for 1 minute on the main object that you're trying to make. And I'll begin with the New Hampshire Family of Education Star Tennis.
It's unreasonable.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Doris Hohensee from National. I just want to start by affirming what Representative Moore said. The needs of the state do not supersede the rights of the individual. That's what our country is founded on. So let's try to get back to those principles. There are 3 sections of the bill. The first one exempts from public disclosure the right to know any request made by parents for these exemptions, for assessments, questionnaires, or surveys. It protects privacy. Also, for housekeeping's sake, there's an exemption from the bill for 542 that was never put into state statute. That's in Section 1. Section 2 requires the policy for an exemption for statewide assessments, questionnaires, and surveys without penalty upon the determination that the parent says that these are objectionable materials. The third section ties it together by saying that there's no penalty for students and parents, and there's no penalty for the districts. There's a 95% participation rate. This is what's got this whole thing in a hubbub, where we get daily messages from members of our organization across the state saying that we tried to refuse, like we've been refusing for decades over the other assessments, kneecaps, you can refuse, but now all of a sudden this year we have these technical advisories that are currently circulating. And so when they opt out or refuse, they're being met with intimidation and suppression of their rights from these directives from the commissioner. She issued multiple technical advisories, essentially instructing the districts and administrators to bully parents. The commissioner acknowledges that there's no laws under which to punish parents who refuse to allow their child to participate in smarter balanced assessment. Yet she instructs the districts to trample the rights of parents by informing them that they have to take the assessments anyway, that it's only a very restrictive exemption. They're not asking for permission. They're saying no. So why all of a sudden are we having this problem?
I'm gonna rule that your testimony will end now. We understand what the main problem is.
He had 20 minutes.
What?
The previous person had 20 minutes, and I
I
barely
know
have
that. That's
one.
why we're in a predicament now.
This is
I asked you to
discriminatory.
Give us your main point in 1 minute. Please.
That's discriminatory. So when parents have the courage to exercise their right of refusal, they're told that their child will have to make it up. This happened to me in 2010. My daughter tried to refuse the kneecaps. We had weeks of correspondence back and forth to the state and the district. And they said, oh no, there's only these exemptions. And I said, no, if you put it on her transcript, which is against school policy, she's opting out. If you follow school policy, you can test her. They're saying, no, we have to break the law and put this result on the transcript. So they locked my daughter in the principal's office, refused to let her call home, and said she had a choice. She's either suspended from all more classes or she takes the makeup test. That's what we're facing. That's why this bill needs to go through, because they have a 95% participation rate, and they are pulling out all the stops, and we have heard from one end of the state to the other that this is a problem. The commissioner is acting under the color of law to suggest that her little regulations and statutes supersede our rights that predate this government.
With all due respect, you're being redundant, and I'm going to suspend your testimony, and I'm going to ask the committee not to ask any questions. If
Well,
we
I
can
have-
discuss this later.
One more thing that I'm submitting, I'll
No,
give.
madam, I have made a ruling.
Okay.
Next witness will be Deborah Blaisdell. And now we're going to reopen. Yeah, I'm going to reopen House Bill 603.
No.
Yeah, for questioning,
Yes.
for questioning that we
It's on
said
schedule.
we would allow you and the other members on the committee to ask you, please come forward.
Okay, this is House Bill 603. We have one more person to testify.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee.
Question.
It's just a question. Mr.
I
Chairman.
thought I was allowed to continue my presentation because I was so abruptly terminated. So I would like
Okay,
instruction.
well, are there any questions?
That's not what I asked. I
No.
asked, may I continue my presentation? Because
Okay.
I was abruptly terminated. The department got 20 minutes, the state board got 20 minutes, I got 1 minute and I got terminated.
Okay, would you please continue?
Thank you very much.
Point of order?
Yes.
There was 20 minutes of questioning by the committee, he sat in the chair for 20 minutes, he didn't testify.
Correct, you're right.
Okay, but I just want to clarify that.
Correct.
So,
I would like to just register an
Yes,
objection to allowing the person to continue testimony. I believe she had her 3 minutes that were described. We did not allow her to have questions, which I think was an error, and the chair agreed that it was an error, and we brought her back for questions. That is my understanding of the situation.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. I think we should allow questions.
Okay. President,
yeah, I'm
Representative
sorry.
Sullivan?
There have been so many testimonies in between, I think it's only fair to let her at least recap what she said so that we can see if we have questions for her, because honestly, I don't remember the testimony
We have
from an
written-
hour ago.
She gave us
Mr. Chair, we have written testimony from the person that we can refer to right now.
Excuse me, but this is hostile. This is supposed to be a neutral body, and everybody that comes here is supposed to have their say. We have it taped. I did not get 3 minutes. I was terminated in the middle of a sentence. I was told I was redundant. I was told to pass in my testimony, and I wasn't going to get questions. If we're not going to proceed, I'll just go to the majority office and take my complaint there, because this is absurd. So,
Okay, you're
one
always
way-
welcome to do that. However, I was not having been here when you were testifying, giving you the benefit of the doubt, I'd like you to go ahead and continue, but please try to keep your remarks outside of what your written testimony is, because we're way behind.
Interesting. And I understand that the prime sponsor asked that I would come up and explain the bill, and I think it was unwise to terminate. Number one, someone said something about smarter balance and dispositions from their own website, and I quote, "Smarter balance recognizes that college readiness encompasses a wide array of knowledge, skills, and dispositions, only some of which will be measured by the smarter balance assessment. Dispositions are on there. There's many people that argue one way or the other, but they are on there based on their own website. They're not clearly prohibited in state law. There was a removal from proposed legislation that is not the same as a prohibition. Parents do not have any assurance that they are not in there. There is only one and only one smarter balance, not just New Hampshire's smarter balance. So what we get in New Hampshire is not catered just to our restrictions. It's a universal test. There is also non-disclosures on this test, that minors are not allowed to tell what's on these tests to parents. Parents are not allowed to see the previous test, 2013 and 14, not the current one. So everything is shrouded in secrecy. So to forcibly tell parents they will have their child tested when they object over their constitutional right, it is abhorrent. This is going to lead to a lawsuit. There will be a lawsuit going over time. It's just only a matter of time. This is why these directives, which I believe you got copies of earlier this week when I handed them out in my testimony, these technical advisories that are telling the districts to bully and intimidate parents in opposition to their constitutional rights will provoke this lawsuit. And that's why we needed House Bill 741 that took out that sentence, that the districts and the school boards have to follow every rule and regulation of the board, of the department. This is the type of thing that comes down from on high that confuses the district and makes them feel like, what am I supposed to do now? They have these rights, I have these directives, and they're caught between a rock and a hard place. It is not possible to say that you have the fundamental right of free speech, and yet you do not have the right to develop the thoughts that go into your mind. You're taking minors who are vulnerable and saying that you can forcibly give these assessments, which I've heard members of the department say that these are instructive assessments. These Smarter Balance assessments are also instructive. So we're forcibly instructing our children through the administration of Smarter Balance assessments in opposition to the conscientious beliefs of the parents. It's a part. You can't have free speech if you're indoctrinating children. It just doesn't work. And I think that there needs to be more of an acknowledgement of the problem, and so that we can work together finding a solution. To say that none of this exists, it's all in our imagination, it is not constructive. And I'll end with that.
Okay, let's go ahead and just take two more questions. Representative Grenier and, we'll do about three. Representative Cordelli next, then Bashirin, and we'll close the hearing on 603 after Representative Bashirin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for taking my question. It's been a while, but I remember you made a rather strong statement that the commissioner told, and I can't remember who, individuals to bully. You're saying she said to someone to bully parents about this. And I find that a bit shocking, so I wanted to ask you if you could provide us with a document that actually is a quote from the commissioner saying to, and I can't remember the group, that they should bully the parents.
She doesn't, thank you for your question, it's a very good one. She doesn't say, please bully them. She gives these as the tools to intimidate and bully. She acknowledges in this one that they have a constitutional right, but then in this one she tells them to suppress it. So even if I say no for my child and I keep my child home, when the child goes in, tell them to take the test, like they forced my daughter. Take the test or you're suspended, you're out the door. That's promoting intimidation and bullying, these documents.
Owen?
But you said that she told them to bully. Those are your words. That is not an interpretation. You have a document that demonstrates that she told those people to bully the parents.
Thank you for your question. In my testimony, I said that she is bullying and intimidating through these documents. So I'm sorry if you misunderstood me. Bullying, the word bullying didn't come out of her mouth. She's far more
Thank you.
clever than that.
Okay, Representative Cordelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for taking my question. You mentioned a page on the Smarter Balance website where it did seem to indicate that there was still dispositions involved. I was wondering if you had that, if you had a screen print or a link you could send to the committee?
The gentleman right here has it. I just copied it down from him, but I will get you that link.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative Bashirin?
This is a follow-up to Representative Cordelli's question, because in the letter to Deputy Paul Leather from the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, there's a paragraph that has what you say is on the website. You didn't read the next sentence. I presume this is on the website, the whole thing.
I would imagine.
That has an underlined sentence that says, as a result, Smarter Balance narrowed the focus of its college readiness definition to content readiness in the core areas of ELA literacy and mathematics. In other words, they have stated right here that what you are afraid of is not happening. And yet you come to us and cite the first part of this and don't bother to read the second part. May I ask you if I should not consider that misleading testimony?
Thank you for your question. I don't think it's misleading. I could read those two sentences together and still come up with a conclusion. When they say, only some of which will be measured, they're saying knowledge, skills, and dispositions, only some of which will be measured. Because there's a wide array of these three items, only some of which will be measured.
And
they
then the
go on to
second
qualify.
sentence
They
tells you
go on
which
to
ones are
qualify.
going to be measured.
It does not say, excuse me, but
Let's limit conversation.
I'm sorry, excuse me, sir.
it does not say that there are no dispositional questions in that. We haven't been able to see them. We need reassurance, and I am sorry that you feel that way about what I'm, I don't think I'm misleading.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and close. Okay. Let's go ahead and close the hearing on 6:03. Thank you very much for your testimony.